I'm just setting up for our grand annual cheese buffet, as you can see, and we've got a few cheeses that might be familiar to you here. We've got the Bix, which I've already done on this channel, that's from Waitrose. I've got one of, you know, the Spanish / Portuguese thistle cheeses, La Retorta. This one's from Waitrose, made with artichoke rennet. We've got Black Sticks Blue somewhere here. We've got, oh, this looks good. I've never had this before. It's a cheese washed in Kirsch. And we've got a goat cheese mille fleur. It's all flower petals on it. It's all looking good. But our absolute star showpiece today is going to be this, which is the cheese we made in Gouda. So I don't know if you can see there, I have a cameraman, it's got like a label with a serial number and it says like Gouda, Boerenkaas, which means farmer's cheese. So we made this at the start of October. It stayed on the farm where it was washed in salt water and like painted. So this is going to be our absolute show cheese today. So I'll come back and taste it with you. So I'm going to show you the cheese just in a couple of seconds, but I just needed to interrupt this broadcast just to talk to you briefly about rennet. When you see the video with the cheese in it, there's a kind of weird light shining sort of across here. And when I started talking about rennet, the light kind of took over like some sort of ghostly calf, I tell you. So I just thought I'd record the bit about rennet again. So we made this cheese on a farm in Gouda, and we had all our cheese making stuff set up. There were a whole group of us, we made a cheese each, and we did use animal rennet. And I obviously asked the question because I don't eat meat, and I would prefer to buy a cheese that doesn't use animal rennet. The farmer was of the opinion that if you're using cows for dairy, then you're keeping the cows permanently pregnant anyway, and they're producing calves in order for them to be able to produce milk. So therefore, what's the point of using vegetarian rennet? Because he says the process isn't vegetarian in the first place. So I'm telling you what he said. I'm not saying I agree with him. He's not here, so I can't argue with it anymore. But here's the cheese. So I'm back with the half of the cheese that I managed to rescue from the jaws of my cheese buffet guests. So this is a cheese that we made in Gouda in Holland back in October, at the start of October. And the guy on the farm, Teus, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name correctly, sorry. We made the cheese, pressed it, and then he took it off us and he put it in a salt bath. And then he like painted the outside of it, and we all had, as I say, our own like reference number. And then he posted the cheese to us all shrink wrapped. Now it was really good the way that all the local farmers kind of worked together. And we did on the farm, we got to see the calves, we got to feed the calves. All the farmers work together, and there is one farm where those cattle are only used to produce rennet, and that kind of made me feel a little bit sad that they don't even get to be cheese, you know. But I'm just telling you what he said. So we separated the curds and whey from the cheese, and then the whey was taken away and fed to the calves. So again, nothing was wasted. It was really interesting to see the process and everything. We did buy some of his cheese made on the farm, so that's his compared to ours. He did say that we can only really mature this for 16 weeks, not much more than that, because it's only a small cheese. So we've kept it at room temperature, and we've turned it and turned it and turned it. And then it was ceremoniously sliced at the cheese buffet. And I have to say, the first thing that I said was, like, it tastes like cheese. I don't know what I expected it to taste like. I'm also taking the opportunity as well to show off my fantastic Stormtrooper, I don't know if you can see that, cheese board, which I got for Christmas. And it's got knives underneath. So apparently the correct way to eat Dutch cheese is with one of these things where you sort of scrape it off, but mine isn't sharp enough, so I can't do it that way. So this is his cheese, older than ours, so you can see that there's not much left of that either. It's a little bit more crystallized, a little bit darker in colour. This one's very young, so I'm going to try some for you now. I've got different guests here tonight, so we're all going to try some. They were with me in Holland when we initially made this. Wow. So I made this cheese. So it smells like Gouda. And all that went into the cheese was the milk, the rennet, some acid and salt. That was it. So it is the cows from the area that give it its unique taste, because if you were making cheese like using the same method with cows from another area, like say for example cheddar, the cheese would taste entirely different. He says as well, when you're making Gouda cheese, that you get rid of a lot of the maturation process gets rid of a lot of the sugar. So he believes that if you are lactose intolerant, you can eat Gouda cheese. So let's go. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice. Kind of fresh. It's not as mature as this one, which has got like a lot more nuts and caramel and more a burnt flavour to it. But this still does have a little bit of caramel in it. Really nice up the edges. Kind of grassy. Really buttery. Really good. So there you go. Cheese I made, and I'm going to enjoy it with my guests. I've got to go with it. These are things that we got in Holland that you may have seen on the video I did of my cheese haul. This is the apple stroop, apple syrup, which also has like a kind of burnt toffee apple taste that goes really well. And then this one I haven't opened yet, which is Cass mustard, cheese mustard. So you can kind of dip your cheese into that. So you can't enjoy this cheese, it's unique. I made it. This cheese will never exist again, and it's probably going to get eaten tonight. Hi, peeps.